She tapped the datapad, and a holographic display appeared showing detailed schematics of the fortress they currently stood in. The Zephyrians tensed as they realized the images showed not just the public areas, but security systems, power distribution networks, and even the private quarters of high-ranking officers. The level of detail was impossible unless someone had been gathering intelligence from inside the fortress for months. "Impossible!" Captain Zarn hissed, his crystalline spines rising in agitation. "Our security is absolute. No outsider could have obtained such information." Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "That's where you're wrong, Captain. Humans are exceptionally good at becoming insiders. For the past 6 months, 17 of my people have been living and working within your fortress. They've served your meals, maintained your equipment, and cleaned your chambers. They've learned your routines, your habits, and your weaknesses, and you never noticed them because you never thought to look." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and demands for explanations. General Krex slammed his massive fist against his throne, creating a sound like crystal mountains colliding. "Impossible! All our servants are loyal Zephyrians or conquered species we've enslaved. We have no humans in our fortress." "Don't you?" Sarah asked quietly, and her words somehow carried over the chaos. "Have you personally verified the identity of every single being who has served you a meal? Every technician who has repaired your systems? Every cleaner who has maintained your chambers? Humans are remarkably adaptable, General. We can change our appearance, learn your languages, and adopt your customs with surprising ease." She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed surveillance footage from various locations throughout the fortress. In the images, figures that appeared to be various alien species were going about their duties. But as Sarah manipulated the controls, the images enhanced and clarified, revealing subtle details that identified each figure as human in sophisticated disguise. "This is Lieutenant Martinez," Sarah pointed to a figure who appeared to be a Korthak maintenance worker. "He's been repairing your defensive systems for 3 months. And this is Sergeant Kim, who's been serving meals to your command staff while disguised as a Yelian food servant. Each of my people has been gathering intelligence and making small, undetectable modifications to your fortress." Captain Zarn's crystalline features had gone pale with realization. "What kind of modifications?" "Nothing harmful," Sarah assured him. "We're not here to destroy or damage. We simply wanted to demonstrate that strength isn't always about size or armor or weapons. Sometimes it's about patience, adaptability, and the ability to see opportunities where others see only obstacles." General Krex stood again, his massive form radiating tension and barely controlled anger. "You dare to mock us? To demonstrate that you could have sabotaged our fortress at any time? This is an act of war." "No, General," Sarah replied calmly. "This is an act of diplomacy. Everything my people have done can be undone. Every modification can be reversed. Every piece of intelligence we've gathered can be shared with you instead of used against you. But first, I formally request the ancient right of single combat to determine the outcome of our conflict." The Zephyrian officers looked at each other in confusion. Their ancient laws were clear about such challenges, but they had been written in a time when all warriors were roughly equal in size and strength. No one had ever imagined a challenge between species so physically different. The unexpected arrival. The massive gates of the Zephyrian High Command Fortress creaked open with a sound like grinding mountains. Commander Sarah Chen walked through alone, her standard Earth Defense Force uniform looking almost comically small against the towering crystalline walls that stretched hundreds of feet into the crimson sky of Nexus 7. Her boots clicked steadily against the polished stone floor as she made her way toward the central command chamber, where dozens of alien eyes watched her approach with barely contained amusement. General Krex rose from his command throne, his 12-foot frame casting a shadow that could have covered a small vehicle. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light from the floating energy orbs, creating rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. The other Zephyrian officers stood in formation, their natural armor plating gleaming with battle decorations earned over centuries of warfare. To them, the small human walking into their most secure fortress was nothing more than an interesting curiosity. "Look, who's here to conquer us?" General Krex announced, his voice booming through the chamber like thunder rolling across the mountains. The assembled warriors burst into laughter, a sound that echoed off the crystal walls and seemed to shake the very foundations of the fortress. Did the humans run out of real soldiers? Did they send their children to entertain us before they surrender their colonies? Sarah stopped in the center of the chamber and calmly removed her helmet, revealing short dark hair and determined brown eyes that seemed to take in every detail of her surroundings. She placed the helmet on the ground and looked up at the towering General Krex without a trace of fear or intimidation in her expression. The laughter gradually died down as the Zephyrians began to notice that this small human showed no signs of the territory or they expected. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber despite her small size. "I come before the mighty Zephyrian Empire to request a formal challenge according to your ancient laws of combat." The silence that followed was so complete that Sarah could hear the subtle humming of the energy systems that powered the fortress. Captain Zarn, General Krex's second-in-command, leaned forward with obvious confusion written across his crystalline features. "You wish to challenge us? You do realize, human, that we are the greatest warriors in this sector of the galaxy. Our empire has conquered 17 star systems. Our fortress has never fallen." Sarah nodded respectfully. "I am well aware of your military achievements, Captain Zarn. I have studied them extensively. The Battle of Crimson Nebula, where you defeated the Morthak fleet. The Siege of Arcturus, where you held off 3 enemy armies for 2 standard years. The Liberation of the Outer Rim, where you freed 6 planets from the Void Collective. Your tactical brilliance is legendary throughout the galaxy." The Zephyrian officers exchanged glances of surprise. Humans were known for their stubbornness and refusal to acknowledge superior force. But this one spoke with genuine respect and detailed knowledge of their greatest victories. General Krex settled back into his throne, his attitude shifting from mocking amusement to curious interest. "You have done your research, Commander Chen," he acknowledged, "but knowledge of our victories should make you understand the futility of your position. Why would you request a challenge you cannot possibly win?" Sarah reached into her uniform pocket and produced a small data pad, which she held up for all to see. "Because, General, I believe there are different kinds of strength. Your warriors are mighty in battle, your technology is advanced, and your strategies are brilliant. But humans have something else, something you might not have encountered before." When they reached the assembly hall, General Krex stopped in amazement. The vast chamber was filled with both Zephyrian and human personnel working together on various projects. Technical displays showed improved defensive systems, more efficient resource management protocols, and enhanced communication networks. At the center of it all stood Commander Chen, no longer in her military uniform, but wearing simple work clothes as she collaborated with a mixed team on what appeared to be a new fortress design. "What is the meaning of this?" General Krex demanded, his voice booming across the chamber. The activity gradually stopped as all eyes turned toward the towering commander. Sarah stepped forward, wiping her hands on a cloth as she approached. "The meaning, General, is that your fortress has already surrendered. Not to conquest or force, but to the possibility of something better." "Impossible," Captain Zarn protested. "Our loyalty is absolute. Our discipline is unbreakable." "Your loyalty is indeed absolute," Sarah agreed. "But it's loyalty to the concept of strength and protection. When my people showed your warriors and workers that cooperation could make them stronger and more effective at their jobs, they embraced it enthusiastically. They didn't surrender their values. They enhanced them." She gestured toward the displays around the chamber. "Your defensive systems are now 30% more effective because human engineering techniques were combined with Zephyrian crystal technology. Your resource management is 40% more efficient because human logistics expertise was integrated with your existing supply chains. Your communication networks can now reach twice as far because human signal processing was merged with your crystalline relay systems." General Krex walked slowly through the chamber, examining the various projects with growing amazement. Everywhere he looked, he saw evidence of collaboration that had produced results superior to what either species could have achieved alone. His own warriors were not just participating, but leading many of the initiatives, their natural leadership abilities enhanced by human innovation and adaptability. "This is not conquest," he said finally, his voice filled with a mixture of confusion and grudging respect. "No," Sarah confirmed. "This is evolution. This is what happens when different forms of strength combine instead of competing. Your warriors brought discipline, honor, and tactical excellence. My people brought adaptability, innovation, and collaborative problem-solving. Together, we've created something stronger than either of us alone." Captain Zarn approached one of the technical displays, studying the improved defensive systems with obvious interest. "These modifications could revolutionize our military capabilities across the entire empire. And these logistics improvements could feed our colonies more efficiently than ever before," added one of the Zephyrian supply officers who had joined the conversation. Sarah nodded. "But that's not the most important change we've accomplished here. The real victory is that your fortress didn't fall to human conquest. Instead, it rose to the level of human-Zephyrian cooperation. Your people didn't surrender their strength, they multiplied it." General Krex stood in the center of the chamber, slowly turning to take in the full scope of what had been accomplished in just 24 hours. His crystalline features reflected the lights from the various technical displays, creating patterns that seemed to shift and change like his understanding of the situation. "You have proven your point, Commander Chen," he said finally. "Humans possess a form of strength we had not recognized. But I must ask, what prevents us from simply taking these improvements and sending you away? We could benefit from what you've shared without offering anything in return." Sarah smiled, and there was something in her expression that reminded the general of his own strategic thinking. "Because, General, what we've shown you in 24 hours is just the beginning. Every human in this chamber has knowledge and skills that could continue to benefit your empire for years to come. But more importantly, every Zephyrian here has learned something about human capabilities that makes them more effective at their jobs." She walked over to where a young Zephyrian warrior was working alongside a human technician on weapon maintenance procedures. "Sergeant Klex here has discovered that human tool usage techniques can make equipment maintenance 50% faster. Lieutenant Torres has learned that Zephyrian precision and attention to detail can make human innovations much more reliable. They've both become more valuable than they were before, not just to their respective species, but to any combined force." Captain Zarn stepped forward, his earlier suspicion replaced by genuine curiosity. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander?" "An alliance," Sarah said simply. "Not human domination of the Zephyrian Empire, and not Zephyrian conquest of human space. A true partnership where both species contribute their strengths and cover for each other's weaknesses. Your empire gains access to human adaptability, innovation, and collaborative techniques. Humanity gains the protection of Zephyrian military might and the stability of your established governance systems." General Krex was quiet for several long minutes as he processed this proposal. Around him, the mixed teams of humans and Zephyrians continued their work, providing a living demonstration of how such cooperation might function on a larger scale. "The fortress has indeed surrendered," he said finally, "not to conquest, but to the possibility of becoming something greater than it was before. See, Commander Chen, I believe it is time to discuss the terms of this alliance you propose." Sarah extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement, and after a moment's hesitation, General Krex reached down to grasp it with his massive crystalline fingers. The size difference was dramatic, but the handshake represented something that transcended physical strength, the meeting of different kinds of power in mutual respect and shared purpose. The chamber erupted in cheers from both species, but the celebration was not about victory or defeat. It was about the recognition that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from learning to stand together with those who complement your abilities and share your values. As the sounds of celebration filled the air, Sarah looked around the chamber and smiled. Sometimes the greatest victories were won not through force of arms, but through the simple human ability to see potential where others saw only obstacles, and to build bridges where others saw only walls. "Then let me propose a different kind of combat," Sarah suggested. "Not physical strength, but strategic thinking. Not brute force, but adaptability. Give me 24 hours in your fortress, and I will accomplish something you believe to be impossible. If I succeed, you will hear Earth's proposal for alliance. If I fail, I will surrender myself and provide you with all the intelligence we've gathered about human capabilities." General Krex considered this proposal for several long minutes while the chamber remained silent. Finally, he leaned forward in his throne. "What impossible task do you propose to accomplish?" Sarah's smile widened. "I will convince your fortress to surrender to me." The laughter that erupted from the Zephyrian warriors was even louder than before, but this time it carried an edge of uncertainty. They had seen what humans could accomplish when underestimated, and the thought of this small figure somehow taking control of their impregnable fortress was both absurd and oddly disturbing. "Very well, Commander Chen," General Krex declared. "You have 24 hours. But know this, if you fail, the consequences will be severe, not just for you, but for all of humanity." Sarah picked up her helmet and placed it back on her head. "Understood, General, but I think you'll find that humans are full of surprises." The human element. 23 hours later, General Krex paced the length of his command chamber like a caged predator. His crystalline spines rippled with agitation as he checked the chronometer for the 100th time in the past hour. Throughout the fortress, his security teams had been searching for any sign of Commander Chen's activities, but the human had seemingly vanished into the massive structure like smoke in the wind. Captain Zarn entered the chamber with a troubled expression on his angular features. "General, we have reports coming in from all over the fortress. Strange things are happening, but nothing that seems threatening or even particularly significant." "Explain," Krex demanded. "The kitchen staff reports that their food preparation has become significantly more efficient. The maintenance crews say their equipment is running better than it has in years. The communication technicians have noticed improved signal clarity throughout all our networks." Zarn paused, looking confused. "The humans who were disguised as our servants have revealed themselves, but instead of creating chaos or damage, they've been helping our people work more effectively." General Krex stopped pacing and turned to stare at his second-in-command. "Helping? They're supposed to be conquering us." "That's what I don't understand," Captain Zarn admitted. "They've introduced new techniques that make our jobs easier. They've shared knowledge about more efficient ways to organize our supply systems. They've even taught some of our younger warriors new tactical concepts that complement our existing strategies rather than replacing them." Before General Krex could respond, the chamber's communication system activated. Commander Chen's voice filled the room, though she was nowhere to be seen. "General Krex, Captain Zarn, please report to the main garrison assembly hall. It's time for the final demonstration." The two Zephyrian officers exchanged wary glances before making their way through the fortress corridors. As they walked, they noticed that the atmosphere throughout the stronghold had changed dramatically. Instead of the usual tense efficiency of a military installation, there was an almost festive mood in the air. Zephyrian soldiers were talking animatedly with humans who no longer bothered to maintain their disguises. Laughter echoed from various chambers, and the normal rigid hierarchy seemed to have relaxed into something more collaborative.